Could you tell I made that masterwork in graphic design myself? In about 2 or 3 days, I'm going to be starting my through hike of the Appalachian Trail. And all this is my gear. I'm an ultralight hiker, and my base weight is sitting around 7.7 pounds. And in this video, I want to talk about all my gear, what it is, why I chose it, and also give some pointers about how to be smarter and thriftier with your gear purchases so that you can be happier with your setup faster. My gear not only reflects my own research and preparation for this hike, but also the patchwork of generosity of people that have supported me to get to this point, whether that is through monetary means or just by supporting me to keep chasing this dream. And I'm so thankful to all of you who've helped me get here. Before we get to my pack, let's talk about everything I'll be wearing on a daily basis, starting with my shoes. These are Ultra Lone Peak 8s, and these are trail runners as opposed to boots. Now the reason I like these is because of their lighter weight, and also the low platform on these shoes means that I'll be twisting my ankle less on uneven terrain. I'll be sporting these Darn Tough socks, which are moisture wicking and will be doing a lot of the legwork to keep my abnormally sweaty feet happy and blister free. I'll only be taking one pair of pants on the trail. These are Patagonia Terrebonne joggers, and I'm wearing these in lieu of bringing extra rain pants or wind pants because they are breathable while providing more protection than, well, just your skin if you're wearing shorts. It's a little unconventional and won't work for everybody, but it's worked well for me on my shakedown hikes and saves me a lot of weight in clothing. I picked up a used merino wool t-shirt, underwear, a buff to protect my face from the heat and the cold alike, and this hat, which looks like hammered, damn it. I've worn this on every shakedown hike I've been on, and I want to see how long it lasts on the trail. And for my trekking poles, these are the Black Diamond Alpine Carbon Corks. These are a little pricier than your average pole, but are some of the sturdiest on the market, which leads me to kind of a controversial budgeting tip, which is to buy nice, not twice. I can't tell you how many stories I've read where people will break their trekking poles on the trail and have to buy a completely new set of trekking poles. So I wanted to buy one pair of trekking poles that would get the job done. And now for my pack. This is a KS50 from KS Ultralight in Japan. I got it custom made to me at a very reasonable price, and it comes in at about 19 ounces. This is a frameless pack, meaning I have to give it its form by packing my gear in a certain way, and other than that, all the things I've added to it is a little extra back padding, a couple of hip belt pouches, and an anatomic hip belt to fit my abnormally small twink waist. On my side pockets, I have a liter smart water bottle with my Sawyer squeeze on the top. That will be filtering all my water. And I have a 700 milliliter clean water bottle that I'll be drinking from. On my other side, this is my cook kit. I'm a cold soaker, meaning I don't cook my food. I just let it rehydrate. And inside, I have a little spork that I've cut off the other end to save a minuscule amount of weight. On my back mesh pocket here, I have my Frog Togs rain poncho and 6 tent stakes, MSR groundhog minis, and my poop trowel. The goodies in my hip pouches include a Garmin Mini for my family's sanity mostly, a little flashlight which attaches to my hat, itty bittiest little chapstick you've ever seen, little tick remover, and the bidet. Now this little number attaches directly into my water bottle so that I can rid myself of poopy butt. And in my other hip bag, I just have my wallet. Getting into my bag itself, in the way of extra clothes, I have a Senshi Alpha 60 Ren. This thing only weighs like 3.5 ounces, and I don't know if you can see, but it is sheer like Victoria's Secret, but incredibly warm for its weight. I look like a doofus wearing it. I'll be carrying gloves. Now these aren't the gloves I'll be wearing on trail. On trail I'll be wearing the Z-Packs Brush Trail Possum gloves and an extra pair of socks. I'm keeping all my food in a 20-liter odor-proof sack to keep the smells in here and the critters away. And here we've reached the top of my pack liner. I have a Nylofume pack liner, And this will essentially waterproof my bag, keeping everything inside of it safe from the elements. Inside there we got my Diddy bag, which holds all of my small things and electronics, including my Nightcore battery bank, USB-C charging cable and box, repackaged Dr. Bronner's soap, even smaller repackaged antibiotic, an itty bitty little toothbrush. Now I will be changing this toothbrush out when it runs its course, because to get to the back of my molars I kind of got to put my fingers in my mouth, and not a fan of that after a long day on a dirty trail. Got travel-sized toothpaste, floss, and a needle to do any gear repairs or blister popping, a little bit of Leukotape, vitamin I, a spare water bottle cap because I reckon I'm going to lose one at some point, some gear repair tape, and a little utility blade to do my arts and crafts with. For my tent, I'm using the Z-Pax Plexamid, which got lightly used for a damn good discount. And this is my luxury item. It is an absurdly expensive $60 sack that I blow air into to sleep on at night. I'm a side sleeper, and this is about one of the tallest pillows that I found on the market. So anything that can help keep my head and shoulders aligned, it's a great comfort. My quilt is a pretty fun piece of gear because I never see anyone really talk about it. This is the Thermarest Haven, and it looks like a sleeping bag, but there's a big old hole in the back. It was designed that way to save weight and insulate at the bottom, instead using a Thermarest inflatable pad. But I'm not using a Thermarest inflatable pad. Instead, I am using this absurd little thing. This is a foam pad about the size of my torso and 3/8 of an inch thick. I use this to frame my pack when I'm packing it, and it's not as bad as you'd think. And that's really all the gear that I have. I'm going to link my lighter pack in the description if you want to peruse the list yourself. Ultralight gear is stupidly expensive. So from here on out, I want to talk about some of the budgeting strategies that I used and the ones that I wished that I had used in hindsight. Almost all of the major items in my kit I bought used, including my tent and my sleeping bag. A tent such as mine that is under £1 usually costs around $500 to $600, but I got mine for about 50% off by buying it lightly used. I got this sleeping bag, and the average Enlightened equipment bag might run you $350 or something like that. I got this bag and a Thermarest inflatable pad that went with it for $100. So my biggest tip is be thrifty and buy used. There's so much to be found on Facebook Marketplace, on Ultralight Gear Swaps on Facebook, on Ultralight Gear Swaps on Reddit, and a whole smorgasbord of online tools at your disposal to keep the cost of your gear down. Of course, take precautions when you're doing this, and shop around places with reputations of legitimacy and sufficient oversight. One of the beautiful things about hiking over light is that overall you just take less, which means that you need to buy less. Unfortunately, what I did and what a lot of us do is we buy too much, and then we shave off a lot of that gear and a lot of that weight to achieve the base weight that we want. I certainly wasted money by overbuying, and something that I wish that I had done was waited to buy gear and instead compile a list of all the things that I wanted and to really criticize and evaluate my choices, and then keep shaving off of that list before I thought I had something that I was happy with, and then start buying. Of course, nothing substitutes for experience on the trail, but I didn't necessarily need that to know that I didn't need to bring sock liners, or I didn't need to bring any stuff sacks. Overall, I wish that I was a little more strategic about what I bought in the first place so that I had wasted less on gear. And kind of in line with that, I would say research a lot more than you think you need to. When you first start amassing your gear, you're going to be reading a lot more mainstream publications like The Trek, like Gear Lab, and the recommendations that they have on there are solid, but it doesn't necessarily reflect the scale of what the ultralight backpacking community has to offer in terms of gear. There are so many cottage manufacturers that I'd never even heard of, so many products and types of tarps and all these things that I wish that I had known about before I started purchasing. One of the worst things that you can feel when you're buying your gear is getting one of your big ticket items and then realizing down the line that it's too heavy or that you wanted something different. I started out with a Durston X-Mid, and that's about 12 ounces heavier than my current tent. And I could have saved $300 and a lot of stress by just being a more well-informed buyer. Those are the main takeaways that I got from my experience, but there are a lot better hikers on the internet than me that can tell you a lot more than I can. Seek out the advice of more experienced hikers on the internet, take their advice, or at least consider it to get your brain thinking about what you can do to shave weight or be more efficient. One of my favorite channels for this is Jupiter Hikes. His tips helped me out a ton, so I'll link his channel in the description as well. And that about does it. This is the beginning of an amazing adventure, and I am so excited to be able to get out there and to be able to take you guys with me. I'll see you on the trails.